Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. As you guys can see, well, we have our first measurable snowfall of the season. It is currently December 2nd. And behind me, I have the 2025 Buick Enclave in an all-wheel drive format. And as you can probably tell by the title of this video, we're gonna be testing out the all-wheel drive system on this vehicle. And I wanna just tell you a little bit more about how it works specifically inside of some of these newer GM vehicles that specifically have the all-wheel drive selectable button to go between both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and some of the different drive modes as well inside this vehicle that will automatically do a little bit of that for you, depending on the surfaces that you're driving on and that drive mode that you do have selected inside. So buckle up, stay tuned. It's going to be a fun video teaching you guys how to use some of the all-wheel drive or drive modes inside these newer GM vehicles, and let's see how at the end of the day how the Enclave does here on a little bit of fresh powder. So the Enclave I have in front of me is a 2025 Sport Touring all-wheel drive. So it does have the smaller wheel and tire setup on it. This particular one is going to be riding on the Continental CrossContact LX20 tires. So these are actually a very common tire used on some of these GM SUVs, not only from Buick, GMC, but also on the Chevy side of things. They are very much an all season, not really an all weather, certainly not a snow tire, but we're going to see how these tires and the all-wheel drive system does on GM's latest midsize 3-row SUV. There's only about maybe up to an inch, but it is, fresh in certain areas, has not been driven on. I was doing a little bit of additional testing over in this area just a few minutes ago. That's why it has been driven on. But yeah, I am actually very curious about how the system works and how the power is going to be distributed from front to back, both with and without the all-wheel drive button selected. And again, going through some of the different drive modes. So let's go ahead and set a camera up, get to testing, and see exactly how it does. So inside the Enclave here, the buttons we're going to be frequently using here throughout this video is going to be the drive mode selection as well as the dedicated all-wheel drive button right here. Now, pressing this all-wheel drive button will give you a little indicator over there on the right side of the dashboard, going between two-wheel drive and of course all-wheel drive, which means all four wheels are highlighted, and it will be consistently and constantly sending power to all four wheels instead of just the two-wheel drive mode, which is going to use front-wheel drive. Now, going through the different drive modes, it's nice that it gives you a nice display up here on the main infotainment screen, but it does have 4 different drive modes, and those are Tour, Sport, Snow and Ice, as well as Off-Road. And as you can see, changing between the different drive modes will automatically change the all-wheel drive system. As you can see, cycling between two-wheel drive there and then going to off-road or snow and ice, it will automatically engage all-wheel drive. Now, what's also nice about this is it gives you a little indicator icon up here. If you click that, it will basically tell you the use cases for each drive mode and whether or not it resets when you turn off the vehicle between each ignition cycle. So say you end up at your location, you turn the vehicle off, you exit, and then you come back, it will typically reset to one of the other normal drive modes, such as Tour. As you can see, it does not stay in snow and ice, so you will have to select that every single time you do start up the vehicle. And again, it tells you over here, temporarily disabling traction control may help free your vehicle if it is stuck while using this drive mode. So it is pretty cool, and it changes, of course, traction, stability control, throttle response, everything like that is going to be changed when different drive modes are selected. So we're going to kind of just test out the Tour, Sport, Snow and Ice. Not really sure if we need to test the off-road, but it would be interesting to see how the Snow and Ice versus off-road does differ, given that they both engage the all-wheel drive system over here. But I'm pretty much just gonna go ahead and start off in two-wheel drive, traction control on in the Tour mode, and we'll go from there going between each of the different drive modes. Okay, so we are currently in Tour drive mode, front-wheel drive selected, traction control on, kind of the normal everyday driving that one would do inside of this vehicle. And we're just gonna go ahead and give it a full throttle acceleration and see how the traction control and everything does inside the Enclave. So flooring it. And you can immediately hear traction control clicking away and some of the electronics trying to do as best as possible, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at how well that got off the line, and really this vehicle did. And we're gonna pull around, and I'm simply going to go in Tour and select all-wheel drive, which means it will engage, of course, the all-wheel drive system in the vehicle, and that should help propel us easily off the line versus that of front-wheel drive only. So we're gonna do the exact same thing, full throttle acceleration, all-wheel drive, Tour drive mode. Oh yeah, easy. Traction control was still engaging. You could hear it clicking away the relays and some of the other electronics, but not nearly as much as that of two-wheel drive only. Snow and ice, front-wheel drive, or excuse me, all-wheel drive, because it automatically selects all-wheel drive. So this is snow and ice, all-wheel drive. So I think it delayed and rolled onto the throttle a little bit less quickly, so it numbed the throttle a little bit, which is traditionally one of the items that these drive modes will do. I didn't notice a huge difference in terms of performance. Now let's go ahead and try the off-road mode. Oh, okay. So off-road mode right there gave more rear bias to the all-wheel drive system. I don't know if that's going to come through on camera or not, but definitely felt the rear end pushing the vehicle forward much more than that, even the snow and ice mode. So let's go back to snow and ice. Okay, off-road mode once again. Interesting. It definitely feels like there's more rear bias going to the rear tires with off-road mode. So this is off-road mode, traction control, and stability control off. Oh, yes, and you get a ton more wheel spin. So now we'll do snow, ice, traction control off. And then we'll go back to tour mode, front wheel drive, traction control off, just so you guys get an idea of kind of what that looks like. And as you can see, all-wheel drive makes a huge difference as to actually getting going, getting up off the line. But one thing that doesn't necessarily change with all-wheel drive is going to be your braking performance. This is a lot of times what people think about is all-wheel drive helps braking, but of course it does not. But braking actually felt pretty good. So now I want to give you guys an idea of kind of what happens when you change between the different drive modes up on the display. So as you can see, traction control is turned off. Now what's interesting when you go over here to the drive modes, you can see if you select all-wheel drive, the little traction control symbol actually comes up in a very easy to select area, and it's kind of a toggle on and off, if you will. So as you can see down here on the very bottom of the dashboard, it's currently off. If you press that button that I just showed, turns it back on, and it's very easy to access instead of being buried in the menus. So that's kind of a cool little feature that they have gone ahead and done. None of these other drive modes actually activate that traction control button at the very bottom until you get to off-road, and it becomes very easy to press. So I do like that, how GM has tuned that up on the infotainment screen, since a lot of these features are now digital buttons that you have to do. All right, guys, I apologize. My battery just died in my main camera. Bet you've never seen anybody drift a Buick Enclave before, but now you have. Anyways, hopefully that gave you guys a little bit better of an idea of how the all-wheel drive and or traction control systems work inside of some of these newer Buick or just GM products in general. This was a very safe, controlled environment for you guys. I just want to put that out there. Do not attempt this at home. But to me, the off-road felt like a little bit more rear bias and certainly allowed for a lot more wheel slip, wheel spin, which is indicated up here on the actual infotainment screen under the helpful hints. Now, the snow and ice is going to smooth the power delivery, still allow for extra wheel spin, wheel slip by reducing the traction control and stability control, but is likely going to keep, in control of the vehicle, and is going to certainly be the best drive mode for the conditions that are currently seen outside. Tour sport are going to be your normal everyday dry weather road conditions. Of course, tour is going to be the drive mode that the vehicle starts up in, and you can toggle the all-wheel drive on and off as you see fit between tour and sport if you need it and or don't need it and want a little bit better fuel economy. Front-wheel drive is going to be the way to go. But overall, I think the tires on this vehicle and the performance in this parking lot situation Actually, it was reasonably impressive. So I think these tires, you know, obviously you need to be careful when you're driving in snowy conditions, but I think as equipped from the factory, it does pretty good with the all-wheel drive system. And you know, certainly it would be hard to get this vehicle stuck unless you're being, you know, a little bit, you know, not so careful and driving into, you know, very deep snow piles, or, you know, beaching the vehicle, things like that. I think for the everyday person and the everyday commute, it would be pretty darn impressive. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and or found something helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check out some other Buick Enclave or, you know, Chevy Traverse, GMC Acadia content I have already posted on the channel. And hopefully I can do some more winter testing for you guys, because it is early December. We have a lot more winter to go, unfortunately, but make sure you guys buckle up, stay tuned. There's going to be more where this is coming from. And again, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, hope to see you guys in the next one.